Hello, adventurers, and welcome to Here There Be Monsters, our newest series wherein we will be sailing across cursed seas on a quest for revenge as we play Ironsworn, the Sundered Isles. The Sundered Isles is an expansion of the sci-fi role-playing game Ironsworn Starforged. Starforged itself is a sister system to the fantasy role-playing game of Ironsworn, which can be downloaded for free on the creator's website. I will link it below in the description. So if you would like to undertake an adventure of your own, you can find the classic fantasy game there with all of the assets, everything you need to get started. The Ironsworn series was created by Sean Tompkin and uses this beautifully, elegantly designed game system that is based on the Powered by the Apocalypse RPG system. And my personal favorite thing about the Ironsworn series is the way that it has three unique types of gameplay. You have guided, co-op, and solo. Guided play is very much like any other tabletop RPG you may be familiar with. It involves a storyteller guiding the game, making decisions, playing the NPCs you encounter, setting the challenges, and resolving the outcomes of your moves. Co-op is a style of play where you do not have someone guiding the game. You do not have a storyteller, but everyone at the table who makes their characters, they run the game in unison. You work together using the oracle tables and your imaginations to discuss what's interesting for the narrative, and you kind of tell the story together. And then there is solo, which is what we're going to be doing for this series. It works very much like co-op, where there's no single storyteller. There's just you, the player. You are the storyteller. It is you and the oracle tables against the world. And you decide the narrative on your own. You decide the setting on your own. And that's what we're going to be doing. For gameplay's sake, I'm going to keep it very simple, very brief. Basically, you play Ironsworn by rolling two 10-sided dice, or d10s, and then you roll one 6-sided die, or d6, and you compare and you add your modifiers to that d6 roll, and then you compare that to the numbers on the d10s. If you beat both of the numbers on the d10s with your d6 roll, then you succeed. If you beat one of the numbers, then you succeed with a cost, and if you do not beat either number, then you fail. If the numbers match on the d10s, then your success or failure carries much extra weight. The Sundered Isles specifically introduces a third d10, but it's not used in moves or gameplay. It's only used when consulting the oracle tables, where you roll a d100. And if you roll a 10 on the curse die, alongside that d100, then you consult the curse tables. So this extra die is called a curse die. I have picked a very ominous looking black die to use. So if we roll a 10 on that, it introduces a very dangerous supernatural element into our story. So this episode is our session 0, or our setup session. It's going to be pretty different from the rest of the series. I'm going to be recording my screen as I go between the rulebook and some assets that I made to organize our information in a really nice, cute, aesthetic way. And this is going to be a long one because we've got a lot to fit into this session 0. Maybe I'll split it into 2 parts. If this is part 1, you already know that I've done that. So for this session, we're going to be building the world of our campaign. We're going to be creating our main character. We're going to be creating our ship. And we are going to create 2 important background NPCs. I have some idea of what I'm going for, both with the setting and with our hero. I kind of have a backstory percolating, and I kind of know what I want to do with it. And there's some parts of the setting that I have a tone I want to go for. But if there's something that I'm not certain of or feel strongly about, then I will be rolling on the oracles and allowing the randomness of the dice to shape our reality. As I play through the rest of the series, I'll kind of explain better what I'm doing mechanically as I'm doing it. We can get into the nitty-gritty of the moves as we go, but just to begin, we're going to start here in section 2 of the rulebook, which is getting underway. We have some beautiful artwork. The whole Ironsworn series just has gorgeous human-made art, which I love. I will not be having any AI assets throughout this series. So if you catch something that I didn't, if I'm using like a picture for an NPC's profile or something like that I didn't catch, please let me know. I would love to replace it because I'm 100% human-made art. So we kind of know what tone we're going for. This kind of talks about building the world mindfully. We want to prioritize diversity, reject the narratives used by colonizers to dehumanize indigenous people. We're going to resist injustice. We will not be having slavery in the campaign. As I say here, it was an important reality of the colonial age, but there will not be chattel slavery present in this campaign. It talks about player safety here. I'm the only player, so I don't really need to check in about this with the other folks at the table because it's a single-seater table. But I will be saying, since I'm sharing this adventure with all of you, up front, the two big things besides chattel slavery, or slavery in general, besides that, the two big themes that will not be present in the campaign is like violence and neglect of domestic animals. There will be beasts, of course, and sea monsters that we're going to have to battle, but no one's going to like kick a dog. And then the other thing is there will be 0 SA. No sexual violence will be present in the campaign at all. No assault. There may be some lecherous characters, but it will never escalate beyond maybe some crude comments. It will never get to a point where a character is in that kind of danger. That is not going to be present in this story at all. If there's anything that you feel I need to add content warnings for, please let me know, because again, I'm sharing this with all of you. If there's something that really bothers you, like spiders or imprisonment or claustrophobia or like anything like that, let me know. I will put time-stamped content warnings in the description of the videos, because there are going to be some horror elements to this storyline. Happy to accommodate you guys as we go along. But yeah, the big three, those are the big three things that are not going to be happening in this storyline. So it's time to get started. We're going to work through these exercises. This is the recommended order. We'll go through it that way, so I can kind of show off the game a little bit too. So the first thing we need to do is we need to select our realm, and then we're going to choose our truths, which will make the Sundered Isles setting that we pick extremely unique. I've played the original Ironsworn maybe 3 or 4 times now, twice solo and twice co-op, and never have the Ironlands come out feeling the same. I've played Starforged twice, once co-op, once solo, and again, never has the Forge felt the same in any capacity. They've always been wildly different, and that's one of my other favorite things about this game, is it's got incredible replayability across various groups. Whatever assumptions you have about one version of the Ironlands or the Forge or the Sundered Isles is never going to carry over between campaigns. It's always really unique. And that's what Choose the Truths is about. And it's one of my favorite parts of the game, to be honest. Then we're going to set our factions, and I do envision that there are quite a few factions in our version of the Sundered Isles. Then finally, we're going to create our character. So this will be our main character, with her background, abilities, and characteristics. I do think I'm playing a female character, because I love me a strong woman. And we're going to figure out her abilities, her background, which I kind of know what I want to do with her. So I kind of have a direction I'm going with her, which is helpful. Then we take command, which is that we decide what's going on with our ship and our crew. Now, I don't see this story beginning with us in possession of a ship and crew. I'm still going to roll through the take command section, but I'm going to use that as a guiding point for how we get our ship and what kind of crew we hire. Because I think we're starting out without a ship, but we will be working towards, right at the beginning, getting this ship, and this will be our ship for the campaign. Then we chart a course. We set the starting place for our adventures. I'm going to do a little bit of that with y'all. I think some of it is going to be off screen because I actually have plans for where we're starting, and it's between two places. And anyways, it's going to get complicated, and I want to be able to spend time really making the maps look good. So we're at least going to go through the first 5 of these. So like I said, this is going to be a long one. So the first thing we're going to do is select our realm. We are going with the standard seafaring realm, which is the Sundered Isles lie within vast and perilous seas. It is the classic seafaring pirate storyline. Skyfaring realm is the like flying airships, a little more steampunky, and then the starfaring realm is like total treasure planet. It rules. I would be more than happy to, maybe after this campaign is done, if we like Sundered Isles, play one or even both of these settings in future campaigns, because I love the flavor of them. But I'm a pirate girly, and I wanna do the seafaring realm for this world. So the seafaring realm. In this realm, the Sundered Isles lie within a vast and perilous seas. No one knows the true extent of the isles. Untold number of them are scattered like broken shards across these equatorial waters. We have mist-shrouded islands, warm turquoise seas, rocky shoals, shallow reefs, rugged islets, coastal boats and mighty seagoing ships, bustling ports and inland villages, fast-moving storms, stirrings of great beasts within shadowy depths, ruins nestled in jungles, standing amid high rocks and sunk beneath the sea, and skeletal frames of wrecked ships cast against rock and reef. This is very golden age of sail. I'm leaning a little parts of the Caribbean with some of the flavor. We're going full on seafaring pirates. Again, this is the default. All of the oracles, assets, everything is set. It is created for this version, which is also why I want to start here. And then maybe in future games, if we like this, we can do the skyfaring or the spacefaring realm. There's seafaring. We'll just skip through these. Skyfaring, again, looks so cool. I love a floating island. Super sick. And then the starfaring realm, very Treasure Planet, which is my favorite Disney movie. Yeah, I would love to one day play the other two. So, the big important thing that we need to do now that we've settled that we're in the seafaring realm, we're going to be watery pirates. Now we choose our truths. This sets the tone and background for our campaign by deciding the nature of our version of the Sundered Isles. When we're done, we'll have the key aspects of our setting sketched out and a backdrop of challenges to help fuel our adventures. So, we get 3 options with each of the truths, and I kind of like to stick to that. I like having an outline. I think that's where I do my best storytelling work. Honestly, I've been told my storytelling superpower is to make a meal out of a crumb. So I like taking the outline of something and then making things work within that. The thing with the truths that's important to know before we go into this is that this is the most widely held belief. Sometimes the truths are not always entirely true. There are subversions, and there are reasons that perhaps the Sundered Isles are a little more complicated than people believe. It's not always going to be so straightforward. So I've got over here our world truths. This is going to be our assets. I have a couple things about the Sundered Isles setting, like the moons, Cinder and Wrath. They kind of guide life in the Isles. This is all from section 1 of the rulebook. Kind of talks about we have uncountable islands, diverse people, perilous seas, mighty ships, clashing factions. But we're going to go down here to the Sundering, and we're going to decide what's going on with the Sundering. So, how did the Isles earn their name? We have as our options, a great war left horrible scars upon the Isles. Eons ago, a vast cataclysm shattered the continents. Or strange technologies unleashed a reality-fracturing wave of cursed energy, forever reshaping the Isles. And I don't have a very strong opinion about this, so I'm going to roll a D100, which are two 10-sided dice, one with double numbers, one with single numbers. And I'm going to let the dice decide what happened and why the Isles sundered and got this name. So that is a 34, which means eons ago, a vast cataclysm shattered the continents. The lands broke apart in an apocalyptic disaster. Powerful cities fell. Fire, lava, and ash scoured what remained. The Isles, scattered like broken shards, are the vestiges of these once great lands, the gravestones of a fallen dominion. Life eventually returned to this realm, but the wounds do not fully heal. And what's awesome is they also have these really great quest starters that we can lean into if we wanted to. I have, this one says, you're haunted by dreams of this ancient cataclysm. I don't know that we will lean into those, but they're good to hang on to just in case we run into a spot where we're in a bind for the story. We're going to go over here and we're going to add this. And I can format everything later. I'm just going to copy paste right now and y'all can see the finished versions afterwards. I'll do like a recap episode that goes through all of this. This is just kind of the long form, and then there'll be a TLDR episode as well. So the next thing we need to know about are the relics. What remains of lost or fallen people? I also don't really have a strong opinion about this, so we're going to roll the Oracle for it. And that's a 94. So an ancient civilization of unfathomable power left its mark upon the Isles. These people unlock secrets beyond our understanding. The ruins marking their legacy are places of unnatural construction, confounding mechanisms, and cryptic relics. Some islanders revere the ancients, others seek to understand them. A few have more selfish motives, pillaging the sites for treasures and artifacts. But some secrets are best left buried. Many ruins are cursed, corrupted by time, and haunted by malignant evil. So we're going to grab this. And we're going to go back here to our relics. We're going to put that there. I will format it later. And our next truth is the modern era. What is the state of technology? This I want to choose. It is an age of sail. Sailing ships navigate the farthest reaches and weather the fiercest storms. Their cannons unleash devastating barrages against rivals or raiders, and their crews wield muskets and blades to defend their decks. Some commanders plot a course through hazardous waters with chart and sextant, while others rely on deeper understanding of the sea and sky. But above all else, we trust in the loyalty of our shipmates and the strength of our vows. I'm going for fully classic Age of Sail piracy. So I want it is an Age of Sail truth for the modern era. Next is the Iron Vows. Now, Iron Vows are pretty much, as you can guess, the heart and soul of the fiction of Ironsworn. We swear vows on iron, and that guides the story. That's sort of the general outline of play, is you find something to swear a vow about, and that's your main quest objective for a while. So let's see. Some see Iron Vows as a vestige of a more superstitious age. I kind of like that one. Ironsworn bind their honor to iron blades. Less so. I'm not really feeling that one. Since the distant time when iron was first hammered into form, seafaring folks of this world carried iron bondstones to keep as sacred keepsakes. I do kind of like that. Because I have thoughts about what we are swearing on. I do like this, the by iron I vow. I kind of want to take, so one of the best things too about this is we can pick multiple things and we can kind of tweak it to our needs. So I kind of like the idea that iron vows are a vestige of a more superstitious age, but that these bond stones are still sacred keepsakes. That like they're rarer to find nowadays. So I'm going to grab both of these and I'm going to have a lot to format later. But I like both of them. So I'm going to grab that. And then I'm actually just going to duplicate this page. Whoop. Spoilers. And then I'm also going to grab this and then I will make it a more cohesive thing later. So we'll worry about that. I'll get a more cohesive, precise write-up of how iron works in this world because I like both of those and I'm going to just make them work together. Next is going to be our navigation. How are people and places connected? So we're scattered to the winds, but our connections persist. We rely on ancient traditions and knowledge of the star marked to navigate these perilous seas. That's pretty cool. I like these star marked ideas. And then there's bleak mists, which means you basically don't know what's going on. I don't know if I like the bleak mist. I think I really like the star marked idea. Our character is not going to be star marked. I don't think she's really traveled from home. So maybe maybe part of it is us finding a star marked NPC to hire. So the star marked have an uncanny sense of wind and tide and bear the history of their travels as beautiful and intricate tattoos etched in phosphorescent ink. Some of the places and passages pioneered by the star marked are now common knowledge, inscribed in charts and traveled widely. Others are coveted secrets lost to time and strife. The skills of the star marked make them highly valued as ship's navigators, and some seek to exploit them to their own ends. I like that. I think the idea of the star marked is very fun. So now the next one is going to be empires. I'm gonna keep clicking on the wrong thing. I notice that I click on like 3 different things before I click on the right thing. I don't know why. I've noticed it at work. I noticed it rewatching Dandelion Clan. I've noticed it in myself. So the empires. How great is the threat of colonization and conquest? Again, there will not be slavery in this game, but colonization is going to play kind of a big role. It's just part of the genre, really, and it's going to kind of end up being, I think, a unavoidable aspect. But it is going to be villainized. Imperialism is bad, everybody. After school PSA. Imperialism is bad. Colonialism is bad. But I have been feeling like imperial forces vie for dominion. I think there is not one empire that's risen. It's imperial colonization and exploitation is a creeping tide that threatens to engulf the Isles. Colonial governors oversee ever-expanding settlements, while powerful trade companies control key trade routes and resources. Imperial agents conduct missions of subterfuge and assassination. Treaties between the empires are forged and broken on a whim, and mariners can never be certain of what flag will fly over a port from one day to the next. And that's exactly the vibes that I wanted. I want there to be these kind of squabbling imperial powers that all want to jump and climb ahead and become like the power of the Isles. So our next thing is piracy. What influence do pirates wield? So this I'm not entirely certain about because I have thoughts about a particular pirate. And I believe that our character is probably going to end up becoming a pirate. So they could be merciless raiders, fiercely independent but bound by a shared code. Again, very Pirates of the Caribbean, which is sort of the inspiration a little bit. Which I do kind of like. I don't, but a burgeoning pirate nation is also pretty cool. The Dread Court, a conclave of 8 veteran pirates, which is Really interesting. Oh man. I think I'm gonna roll. I'm not gonna do Merciless Raiders. I think pirates are either bound by sheer code or there's this nation that is burgeoning. So I'm gonna roll and I'm gonna let the dice decide. Anything over 33, which we have 97. So there is a burgeoning pirate nation wielding great influence. The Marauder clan sail under the command of the Dread Court, a conclave of 8 veteran pirates whose shrewd tactics positioned this nation of cutthroats as a rising power. Once each year, the pirate fleets gather at a port called Flotsam, an artificial island built from the husks of captured and ruined ships, to pay homage to the court and make plans. I love that, and that really gives me a really great idea and direction for our character's story, which we will get into. Like I said, I have her backstory figured out, but I don't have much about her figured out. So the next thing we need to do is religion. What is the role of faith? Our faith is as diverse as the people. The gods enact their will through manifestations and miracles, or the gods are dead. Ooh. I think this is going to be another roll. I'm not 100% sold on these. That's a 40. So the gods enact their will through manifestations and miracles. We chronicle the visitations of the gods in our histories and decipher their enigmatic purpose through sacred rites. In times of crisis, their earthly avatars have guided us through the upheaval. For many, faith in these gods offers meaning and fulfillment. For others, belief is a cudgel used by tyrannical leaders to divide or control us. For this reason, some people and cultures disavow the gods to follow a different path. I like that. These all would have been very interesting. And so we have gods enacting their will through manifestations and miracles. That's a lot. That's interesting. All right, so let's see what magic is. What is the impact of supernatural forces? I do know that magic exists in this world. I've been looking at some of the assets that we can take for a character, and I have definitely had my eye on one that means magic needs to exist. But that doesn't mean that people believe magic exists. So I'm going to roll, and if magic does not exist, that's going to be really interesting to find out what's going on with our character's asset abilities. 86. No, magic is an ever-present elemental force. Magic is as constant as the winds and tides. Talented mystics exploit these energies to shape natural forces, divine the past and the future, and cast boons and curses. A few can even breathe a natural life into the dead. Many mystics join guilds or serve under mentors to hone their craft, while others make do with raw, untrained talent. In spite of their uncanny nature, mystics are often hired as aides for powerful leaders, or to help guide ships on perilous voyages. But as the winds and tides are fickle, so is magic, and some fall prey to the dark curse of these forces. Ooh, spooky. Okay, so magic is real and everywhere, so it's less impressive that we have the powers that we're going to have. Now this one I think I feel strongly about, beasts. I do want there to be beasts. In fact, here there be monsters, which is the title of our series. So I'm actually not going to choose that one, in spite of the connection to our title. I'm actually going to go here with beasts lurk in watery depths and within the reaches of remote islands. I love, again, with the Pirates of the Caribbean thing, I really like that there's sort of this sense that, like, magic and mystery and the monsters on the edges of the maps are real, but that's starting to change and die out as the world changes and becomes more known and explored. And with the Imperial powers fighting, I'm imagining you have to kind of go further and further out to these wild seas again to find these creatures. But all manner of creatures dwell among the isles, including rare and incredible beasts of legend. Among them are colossal great whales and elder rays, larger than our greatest ships, and blade-winged sea dragons. Some foolish souls hunt these creatures for riches or sport. Others revere and protect them. A few are beast bonded, forming an enduring friendship with their beastkin. So beasts are definitely out there. They're definitely going to be a danger that we may have to face. But I think that they are harder to find in the center of the islands. There's like 3 tiers basically, and in the myriad, which is like the densely populated area, I don't think beasts are there. But the further out you go, the more likely you're going to run into monsters or horrors, which is our final thing, which is usually the supernatural and undead elements. So I don't think that they're going to be a plague upon the isles. So I'm going to say curses are very real. And again, magic is very real. So I'm going to kind of do the opposite of what I did with magic. Or not with magic, with, was it religion? Or no, maybe it was magic. Anywho, I'm going to do the opposite, where I'm not going to let this roll. So if I roll above a 68, I'm going to re-roll. But it's either going to be that you put enough grog in a sailor, they'll tell you stories of doomed ships and ghostly visitations. It's nonsense. Or the veil between life and death is as fragile as gossamer. And we also have ghost ships stalking the seas in the darkest reaches of the Isles. Well, you know, reading that, I actually think that's going to be it. I think, again, I like the idea that, like, in quote-unquote, I hate to say it, quote-unquote civilized Isles, which I think are just the ones that are basically, like, highly populated. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're the ones under colonial or imperial control, because there are people who are indigenous to the islands. They densely populate places as well. Places where things are densely populated, you're less likely to find beasts and you're less likely to find horrors. But if you go too far out away from life and society and sanity, you're more likely to find these things out there. So let's do that. Okay. I'm going to format this real quick, and then we will be right back to create our character. Okay, I am skipping for now the set your factions section. I think I'm going to do some of this off camera or a little bit afterwards. I know we have the Dread Court. I know we have some empires. This is already going to be a very long episode. And in my little TLDR summary episode, I will introduce the fleets, and I'll also have the map, or introduce the factions. I'll also have the maps of where we're beginning. And so it can kind of be a surprise. So there's a reason to watch that episode. So we're going to create our character. What sent you on a path of peril and adventure? What role will you play among the Isles? Let's find out. So the first 3 things that we need to keep in mind are the pillars of our character. We are Ironsworn. What incident, need, or responsibility sends you on your quest-bound adventures? We are a seafarer. What calls you or will send you to the sea? What skills or abilities set you apart? And you are a rebel. What faction, circumstance, or obligation do you resist? Who are your allies? In step 2, we'll seek some inspiration. We'll get some prompts to help flesh out our character, but we do have some ideas, like I said. Then we're going to choose 2 path assets from the deck. I think I already know what I'm going for. So let's go down. I have the decks. We don't need to worry about any of the team stuff because it's just us. We're playing solo. Then we get to name our character. We're definitely going to be rolling on these tables. We're going to write our background vow, which I think I already know. We're going to set our stats, which are going to be, these are going to be how we add modifiers to our D6 rolls. We'll set our condition meters, and then we will prepare to take command. So we will get our ships. Obviously, we aren't going to begin with a ship of our own. but we are going to aim to get one as our kind of inciting incident where we begin the story. And so we're going to create the ship. And then I need to create our two important background NPCs that we will get into as we talk about our character's backstory. So, what is your backstory? What events or compelling need put you on the path of adventure? So I've had an idea for this character, and I like that magic is now a big part of our world, that there are mystics. There are also star marked, and maybe that's what we're going to lean into. So our main character, her mother was, I think, star marked. And she worked with basically this world's like Blackbeard. This is a pirate queen who is not a member of the Dread Court. She is her own independent actor. And she did not like that our main character's mother left the crew and came ashore and started a life. So she came to basically punish her. And while our main character and her other parent were away from the inn that her family runs, these pirates came in to port, and the queen herself came to the inn, cut part of her mother's flesh away that held these important star marks, and killed our main character's twin brother. So I need to create the pirate queen and the twin brother. Those are going to be our two important NPCs. When we get to our background vow, that vow is going to be to avenge the death of our brother. So we have a backstory. We know what's going on. So we need our characteristics. So what are the aspects of our look or our personality? We get to roll for that as well. I'm going to open these and we'll go into them. Our former or current profession, we know she was at an inn. I'm thinking she was a shipwright, so she would do repairs for sailors and things that would come into port and stay at the inn. And then we'll do so we can skip the profession. We can go to the trademark accessories. I already know what our weapon is going to be. And then we can do some character details just to kind of flesh her out. We know what drives her. She's looking for revenge. And we possess an object of personal significance. And this I know as well. This is going to be a iron button that was on her brother's shirt when he was shot. It still has some of his blood in the etchings, and she is wearing it on a small leather strip around her neck. And she swears all of her vows on this object, on this button. This is her bondstone. This is her piece of iron that she's swearing her vows upon. Is a button from her twin brother's shirt. So, I do know, I'm going to skip through the personas because I know what I want for this character. So let's go into our character sheet. So we have to set her stats. This is going to be the little icon that we use. Her health, spirit, and supply all start at 5. Experience starts at 0. There are some other things that I might take later that will need another tracker. And then we have our momentum. Our reset is +2. So if we burn momentum, which we'll get into the mechanics of that later, it comes back down to 2. So our background vow, and we'll get his name later. Avenge and I'll fix that too. The death of brother. And we will stretch it out just a little bit. Gonna see me being all finicky with Canva, which is also deciding to lag, so this is more reason why I can't finish Wolf Quest, because I can't even run Canva, apparently. Come on. Okay, well, I'll format it later. I'm not going to worry about it right this second. Revenging our brother's death. That's our background vow. So then we have to pick 2 assets. So let's go over to the asset sheets. And the first one I know that I want is going to be Musketeer. So I know that I want us to wield a musket as one of our main weapons. I want her to have that. And I'm clicking on everything that I don't need, because that's just how we do it here. So when we make a move to shoot at a specific target from a distance but score a miss, you set your sights on your quarry. The next time you make a move to shoot at the same target, you add +2. So if we don't do a great job at the first time that we try and hit somebody, we try again and we have a better aim next time. So I'm going to just worry about formatting things later, because it's being really finicky. And then the next asset that I want, I know, is going to be Windbinder. When you bind the winds to your will, roll +edge. On a strong hit, the winds are fine. You and your allies take +2 momentum. We don't have allies because we're playing solo, and allies are fellow players. But we take +2 momentum and add a +1 whenever we make a move to navigate or maneuver. On a weak hit, the winds are fair. We only get 2 momentum. And on a miss, the capricious winds are foul, and we lose 2 momentum and face weather-related hazards as appropriate. No matter the outcome, the winds are fair after a few hours. So, she has the ability to bind the wind. Which is why I was saying, if magic isn't common, then we're going to be really unusual in this world. And I had the thought that her mother, who used to be a pirate, also had magic. So I like the idea that she's star marked, and there was something that she had on her body that that our pirate queen was not going to let her walk away with. Can I? Okay, there we go. So our first path is Musketeer. And we just gonna go like that. Our second path is Windbinder. You can see how badly this laptop lags, and why we're doing some text-based stuff. Okie dokie. So those are going to be our first 2 assets. Let's make the rest of the character before we decide what else we're doing. So we scroll back up. We have our paths. We have our concept. This is an innkeeper's daughter who probably learned to fight. Her mother was a pirate, so I think she learned how to shoot a musket. And she learned probably how to fight a little bit in close combat. Or close quarters. So, she's not helpless, but this is her first time leaving home and going out into the world. Her mother, who is a pirate, obviously is wounded, had part of her skin flayed away. And so her other mother is staying home to take care of her. And so that leaves our character to go out and avenge her brother's death. So let's do our stats. So one of our stats is going to be a 3. That's going to be our highest stats, the best thing we're best at. We've got 2 things we're pretty good at, and then 2 that we're just kind of okay at. So I think with what we've picked for our assets, being Musketeer, we're going to be shooting from afar, and also Windbinder uses edge. I think our edge needs to be 3. Edge is like It's basically your dexterity. It's how good you are at firing from afar, how good you are at a lot of like more sneaky and ranged fighting. So we're gonna have her edge, I think, be a 3. Um, it wouldn't be me if I didn't dump my strength stat. I don't think she's great at iron. Nothing. We're not gonna do anything to this design, Canva. Please behave. Which means we have another 1 and then 2 2s. So heart is about how courageous we are. It's about how good we are at connecting with other people and how brave. I kind of want her heart to be a 2, I think, because she's on this quest out of love, and also she's very brave, and I think she is a very courageous person. So then the real question is she deceptive and sneaky, which is what Shadow does. It's good for stealth, and it's good for kind of more cunning and deception. And then there's wits, which is a little bit more about like knowledge and being informed. I'm kind of feeling, oh man, I don't think our character is stupid. She's not an idiot, but she also, I think, has been sheltered. This is her first real foray into like the real world and out into the seas. She's going to be leaving the Myriad Islands, which are the really densely populated islands, and heading out into more uncharted waters and into more pirate infested waters. So I think she just doesn't have a lot of experience. She's not dumb, but she doesn't have a lot going on with wits, just because I don't think she's very experienced. She's not worldly, let's say. And so I think Shadow with 2, I think she's still pretty charismatic, which also leads to lying, and I think she's a little bit more cautious, and a little bit more let's scope things out and kind of just like be a little sneakier and a little more subtle with what we're doing. So I'm going to do 2. So we're 3 edge, 2 shadow, 2 heart, 1 iron, and 1 wits. I don't know why I always end up dumping the strength stat in favor of like dexterity and charisma, but I do. I always end up dumping my strength whatever game I'm playing. It just isn't it's interesting to me. I've been trying to get better about playing like stronger characters, but there we go with that. So we've got our stats. We have our background vow. So the next thing that we have to do now is figure out who we are. What is our character's name? And then we'll figure out what let's figure out what she looks like first. Let's start with her first look. And there are a couple that I will re-roll if it doesn't feel right. But I'd like to kind of see what this ends up being. And I'm going to roll our curse die just in case. And we do get a curse. We rolled 88, so that is sorceress. So it's very obvious, I think, that she has some sort of abilities. I should have put a little thing for descriptions. I will simply have to write it down, and I will find a spot for the recap video. So she is sorceress. So her magical abilities are very obvious at first look. And then let's roll a non-cursed one, which is 87, which is uniformed. I don't think that's correct. I don't think she belongs to any faction. So let's roll once more. 35 is flashy. Okay. Okay, I'm liking this. I was imagining her being very subtle and kind of unassuming, but sorceress and flashy. Okay. I'm getting a better idea of her now. She's not so not so unprepared. I think she's got a lot more confidence, it seems, than I was originally envisioning. So that's cool. So we don't need to worry about those, but we do need, I think this next one was trademark accessories. It sure was. So let's get 2 of her trademark accessories. So what's the first thing she has? 46. An heirloom fiddle with brass gilding. Okay, so I'm thinking maybe her brother was a musician. Yeah. He played music at the inn. Um, which is why he didn't go out with her to market or wherever they were going when the attack happened. He played music at the inn. He was an incredible singer, and he played this fiddle, and she took his fiddle with her when she left. I don't think she has any musical talent whatsoever. Um, she was very much just like hands on, which I think is going to be my third asset that I'm going to pick is shipwright. She doesn't have his grace, his poise, his talent. He really was, in her mind, the better of the 2 of them. He had a lot more to offer than she does. But let's see what her other accessory is. That is a 66. A length of coiled rope. Okay. I like that. Especially because we have the rope coil around her. Length of coiled rope. Okay. I'll need to make like a little gear area on one of these, so I'll figure that out later. Okay. Okay, I like those. So then what was the next thing we needed to roll for? Our character details. And I will roll to see if we get a curse. Just in case. We do not. So instead we get a 41. Grief-stricken. Yeah, that is 100% true. She is very grief-stricken. She just lost her twin, person who was with her since before she was even born. Yes, she is absolutely a grief-stricken person. And then what is her other detail? No curses, but we got a 100. Wise. I am impressed that I rolled that, and I also don't think that that's true. Because we dumped her wits, and made wits one of her lowest ones, I am going to re-roll, I think. As impressive a roll as that was, I don't think she is especially wise. No curses. That's a 61 instead. She is loving. Okay. Oh, I'm really enjoying this idea. Okay, great. So she's just, yeah, she's very sincerely like good at connecting with people, which is why her heart is a 2. She doesn't mind dressing like a sea witch of some kind, though, and it's a little flashy. And she has this fiddle case and this length of rope and this musket. She is clearly grief-stricken, but has this like soft heart. I really like our character so far. I'm enjoying her a lot. We know what her goal is. So the last thing I think we need to do now is choose her name, and we're gonna roll twice, once for her given name and then once for her family name. So let's see. Let's do her family name first. I think that's more fun. Let's figure out what her last name is. We'll save the good one for last. Okay, her family name is 94. So we have Nishimura or Lambert. I like Nishimura. So her last name is Nishimura. Oh, shoot. I have that. First of all, misspelled it. Second of all, we need to ungroup this. All the little finicky details. This review video is going to be necessary. Nishimura. Come on. Let me type. I know you know how to let me type, Canva. Nishimura. And then her first name We'll go back to the guidebook. Her first name will be... That's a 56. So it's not Edward. Well, it's not Rodrigo. So why don't we save Edward for her brother, though? Let's go over to the NPCs, because we will have to make him and also our pirate queen. So let's make his name Edward. So our twin's name is Edward Nishimura. But we still need our name. So let's roll once again. That is a 48, so pretty close. Diana or Rahul? Diana. I'm tempted to roll once more just because I know a Diana in real life, and I know a couple Dianas, and I'm just like, that feels weird. So, all right, third time's the charm. Normally, I won't be re-rolling oracles like this, but this is our character creation. This is pretty important. We have to like what we get. So let's see, 37. Catalina or Nettie? Catalina and Edward or Nettie and Edward? Let's see. Catalina and Edward, Nettie and Edward. Catalina Nishimura or Nettie Nishimura? I like Nettie. I think it could be a nickname, too, for something different. But I also think Catalina is really pretty. But Nettie is shorter and it rolls off the tongue better with Nishimura because Nishimura is such a long name. Catalina Nishimura is a bit of a mouthful. Nettie and Edward, I think, are the twins. So Nettie Nishimura. And we'll make that fit. Like so, and then like so. And I will worry about it being centered later. Okay. Never mind. I will worry about it now because it will bother me if I don't. My apologies for how much finicking we're doing. Okay, whatever. Fine. Okay, Nettie. I'm going to figure out between sessions, between this and the review video, what that's short for, and that'll be her nickname. Editing Swan here really quickly. So I gave Nettie her full name, Henrietta, which is a name that means a lot to me where it's related to pirates. It's a very silly little tangent. Basically, when I went to Disneyland when I was like 12, Pirates of the Caribbean was my favorite ride. And each of the little ride carousels, like each of the boats has a name. And the last one that I rode before we went home was called the Henrietta. So I looked up what Nettie was a nickname for. And one of the options is Henrietta. So her name is Henrietta. I also switched her stats. I've decided to switch her shadow and her wits. So her shadow is now 1. She is not very deceptive. It's not that she's not cunning. She's just, I think she's a little bit more straightforward, which I actually really like as a character, like, idea. And her wits are better because wits is what you roll to repair your ship. And if she's a shipwright and we are focusing on the fact that she is rebuilding this ship, she's going to need wits to do that. I still think edge is going to be her best stat, but wits and heart are her 2s. So, okay, just popping in to say that. So Nettie Nishimura and Edward Nishimura. So the next thing I need to do is to take our final asset, which I believe I have here. So the last thing I'm going to take a third path. I could take Sorcerer. Secure an advantage or gain ground by creating a minor mystical effect. But I think I'm gonna take shipwright because I like the idea of her being able to repair vehicles, and maybe that's how she's gotten here without a ship of her own. Sailing from the myriads out to the edges, that she's sort of put herself forward as a shipwright. And we'll worry about all of the formatting later. I tell myself, trying very hard not to be anal about it. Okay, great. Perfect. That's fine. I will worry about Windbinder later. I'm not going to let it go crazy, and we'll have to also avenge the death of Edward. Cool. I think if I do that, it should fit now, more or less. Yeah. Okay. Now we'll deal with where it's going to sit later. No, I'm going to get annoying with it. I'm sorry. Okie dokie. So we have our background vow. We're avenging the death of our brother Edward. We have picked shipwright as our last asset, so we'll change that to path. Shipwright. And we have our name, our stats. We don't have any abilities yet. I will figure out what our bonds are as we start. Obviously, one of them is going to be our parents, our family, and wherever we were from. And we'll figure out more as we go along. So now it is time to take command of our ship. And this is the last thing that we're going to have to worry about for this session, thankfully, because I know it's very long and I appreciate you if you're still here. Oh, no, actually, the last things we're doing, we're going to finish up our backstory. My bad, my B. Edward Nishimura. So this is our brother. So let's go back to character details. And let's do his first look. What did Edward look like? I don't think I'm going to roll cursed. I think he was just he's just some guy. That is a 2. He was accented. Okay. So I guess we all have an accent. Oh no. Seems weird that our brother would be accented unless he used to put on an accent. I think that's funny. I think he used to, yeah. Maybe he was really good actually at mimicking accents. So we'll say that instead of accents. Good at mimicking accents. And what else about him? What else is his first look? 43 is grim. He used to be kind of somber. Okay. Okay. And then let's go to his personality. We'll go to his details at least. We'll go to his details. What was he like as a person? That's 13. He was brave. Just probably what got him killed. He probably took the bullet for their mother, actually. Unless I think it was intentional, though. I think she shot him basically to punish their mother for leaving the crew. He was brave. And he was 83. Stingy. Okay. Always kept... I didn't like to share. We had a twin, and I think there was a lot of like, what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. Just because we were born together and grew up together doesn't mean that we have to be, don't mean we have to have everything the same. So her taking his possessions, taking his button and his fiddle, that's pretty deliberate. That's pretty heavy for her to have done that. So notes here, he was a Musician, very talented. Killed by the Pirate Queen. It's just sort of what I've been calling her. And we should figure out who she is. So this is our Pirate Queen. This is our main antagonist for the story. This is our big bad. She does not work for the Dread Court, which is probably important. Not in the Dread Court. She works alone. She is not really somebody that... We have not met her, so I'm going to be pretty vague. There's going to be only probably a few things that we know about her. But she's basically like the Blackbeard, I'm guessing, like, of this setting. She is this very famous freelance pirate. A mix of like Captain Flint from Treasure Island, and yeah, like Blackbeard. Like, you hear her name and you know immediately who it is. Like, she is a famous pirate. So let's figure out, though, we can at least figure out, I think, a couple things about her because she is so infamous. I don't think we're going to do a first look. I think we're going to save the first look until we come face to face with her, whenever that might be. What I will choose, though, are her trademark accessories, because I think people would talk about those. And then I'm also going to give her a trademark weapon that is cursed, because I do believe that she is cursed. We'll get some details just because I think people talk about her. One of them will be cursed, one of them will be normal. And then I think we will give her a name and a cursed moniker. Because I see this character as, like, deeply cursed. She has been haunting the seas for a long, long time. So let's figure out, first of all, her trademark accessories. What do people recognize her for? Number 1, an animal claw necklace. Ooh, okay. So she has an animal claw necklace. And what's the second thing? That is a 51. So let's go back here. And a 51 is an inscrutable iron mask. I love that. Oh my god. That's okay. Ooh, okay. Scrutable. I didn't spell that right. Iron mask. Inscrutable. Can I? Yes, thank you. Okay, so that's what she's known for. She wears an animal claw necklace and an inscrutable iron mask. Eerie. What is her trademark weapon? I think it is cursed. So I'm just gonna roll straight on the cursed weapons. Oh, take your result. Okay, so we have to roll twice. So we'll roll once on the what is the weapon, and then what is the cursed detail about it. So the weapon is 64, which is a paired rapier and dirk. Okay. I like that. Again, I'll format everything later. Paired rapier and dirk. And the cursed element of it. This is the wrong one. I think I can close the Starforged one. I don't think I need it, really. And what is the cursed detail about this rapier and dirk? 66. It radiates a sickly light. Okay. Radiating a sickly light. Again, everything will be formatted for the review video. So, again, if you're here, if you're watching the full thing, I appreciate it more than I could say. Okay. Spooky. So I guess we could do the details. I mean, I feel like black-hearted is kind of obvious. So maybe, but maybe there's things that are unusual about her. So we're going to roll 1 on the regular character details and 1 on the cursed details. So her regular detail is a 44 honorable. That's interesting because she came... So she's known for being honorable, which maybe is part of why this was such a surprise and so unexpected, because she's known for having a code of honor, even as this cursed and terrible creature of the seas. Okay, and so then what is her cursed detail? Her cursed detail is a 37. 37 is haunted. Okay. Does she have a ghost crew? Or maybe she is one of the mystics that's known to be able to raise the dead. She is honorable and haunted, people say. So now let's name her. What is the name of this pirate captain? Let's start with her first name. 63. Her name is Esmeralda. I love that. It could have been Sage, but I like Esmeralda. And then we'll get her last name. Esmeralda. Did not spell that right either. Just banging on all cylinders today. Okay. Esmeralda. No, I did spell it right. All right. Her last name is 44. Hunt or Durand? Esmeralda Durand. Yeah. Esmeralda Durand, the Pirate Queen. That's such a good name. No, I think we're good. Okay. So then what is she known as? What is her moniker? Which we know is going to be cursed. Let's roll for the category first. Is it dreadful? Is it eldritch powers? Is it an ill-fated nature or a mechanical form? 96 mechanical form, which I guess makes sense since she's got the that mask. Okay, I'm kind of just looking at these. I like Forge Heart. Or Blade Hand is also pretty good. I like Blade Hand, especially since she's got the 2 swords. Esmeralda, Blade Hand, Durand. We'll work on the formatting of that later. Okay. So, I'm really excited to hunt her down. This iron-masked, glowing, rapiered, honorable, haunted, blade hand pirate queen, Esmeralda Durand. That's very exciting. Okay. So now, the very last thing we have to do before we wrap this up, I get it all edited down, and then I make the summary video, is we have to figure out what ship we're going to be sailing into the Sundered Isles. Let's go down to take command. I definitely think we're going to be novice command when we get there. We're going to have the incidental sailing ship. Technically, we don't have a ship or command of our own yet. But I definitely want to start, like I said, I want to begin the story by us getting a ship. So I'm going to say that we're a novice command. It's a minor vessel of little repute. This is the default campaign start. We are not quite a captain yet, but we will be a greenhorn captain. Our crew is going to be much like the ship, unremarkable. Some are inexperienced, some are indifferent, but with time, you may grow to rely on one another. Your ship will come into its own, or you will claim another. Can you forge a worthy legacy among the Isles? So we are going to take the incidental sailing ship. I think it's going to be probably, yeah, a light vessel, probably a sloop of some kind. So let's take it as it's going to be incidental light. Ah, God. Incidental. We'll stick with that for now. It's going to be a light ship. I think I'm done with those. I don't need the play kit right now. Okay. Don't need that right now. Okay. So the ship's history talks about how we claim or earn the vessel. So this is going to be our opening couple sessions, is how are we going to get this ship? So let's roll and find out. It is not cursed, so that's fun. It is 72. It says, once a time-worn, unwanted ship, painstakingly refitted to its new role. I love that, actually. We are a shipwright, so the idea of finding this ship at a dock that is absolute ass and and revitalizing it and breathing life back into it, I think that's phenomenal. I think that works great. And then while we are repairing the ship, which means we can pretty much start with the ship. Like, we can get the ship right away if nobody wants it. That means that we can basically, maybe we find our crew while we're working on the ship. Okay. I love that for us. I'm going to just stick this over here until I can... Come on. Come on. You don't have to lag. And then I'll fix up. Like I said, I'll fix up all the editing for everything later. Okay, I love that. So we are going to be repairing a ship that nobody wants and making it our main vessel. I think that's beautiful. So let's see. What are the ship's characteristics? So let's go. We're going to have these. What size is the ship? And I'm sure I'm like, no, I'm actually not right next to it. So the ship size table, I think we determined it was small. It's a sloop. It's not, it's not like a Corvette or a schooner. That could be really difficult to be fixing up like a schooner. And that's going to be a lot of crew members that we need, which this game encourages you to sort of just have like a faceless crew, basically, of background characters with just a couple important ones. Which I might still do, but I think that would be, we're going to not be able to leave port for a while if it's going to be a bigger ship. So I think it's going to be a small ship, personally. What aspects of the ship's look or nature are obvious when first sighted? That's going to be a good one to roll. It's definitely not colossal. Ship first look. Okay. So we find this ship at the docks. It's been abandoned. We'll go into it more, obviously, when we're involved in it, when we're actually, like, narrating finding the ship. But what are the first look at this thing? 50. It's listing to one side. Okay, so we can't quite fix that. Listing to one side. If it will let me. Oh boy. Nope. No ma'am. Listing to one side. So it's a little bit off. Oh no, and this is linked to the background. Ah! Why do I do these things? I group it, try and make it work nicer, and then I screw it up when I actually have to do things. Okay, here we go. Listing to one side. And what is our second thing about it? Let's roll and just see if we get something cursed. We don't. Okay, good. 49. Well, we already said it was listing to one side, so let's roll that again. That is a curse. That is a 55 on the curse roll. There's a mechanized crew. Huh. Okay. I'm going to just see what the 55 is here. Makeshift fortifications. A mechanized crew is pretty cool. I have been thinking there are, like, constructs in this world. So I kind of like that. Even though it's Age of Sail, I was, one of the other options kind of has, like, there are robots that basically you can have, like, sailor constructs, and I thought that was really cool, so I was gonna steal that. Mechanized crew. Okay. Is there a crew that's mechanized? Are there, like, constructs that are on board that need to be revitalized, or is the ship itself, like, weirdly mechanical and kind of, like, runs itself? I think we'll have to figure that out. So we know that some of the crew is mechanized. Let's see what its design motif is. And we'll roll to see if we get a curse. Oh, here we go. Here's also, yeah, so we're starting in the myriads and we're leaving for the margins. That is going to be our opening kind of sectors as well. So we'll start in the central seas of the myriads, right on the edges, and then we'll be going to the margins. So that's also why I want to start, do all of that between sessions so that I can create the maps that we need. So, because I need to. Okay, so what is the ship's symbol? It could be the figurehead, the flag, or other motifs. It is cursed again. Oh boy, I picked a real spicy die. 74. A monstrous claw. I don't know. I don't know. How would that be? I mean, I guess it would be the, like the old flag. But this is also, like, our ship. So maybe we just choose one? I'm willing to roll once more and just see. I kind of just want to use the regular ship symbols, I think, because those are neat. 84. A vulture. Okay, I like that. So we have a vulture. I know, I'm like, I'm gonna roll with all this stuff, but again, this is just character creation, and making our ship. Vulture motif. Which we really need to love what we're doing here, because otherwise we're not gonna have a good time. But when it comes to the rest of the world and the other characters and anything else that we do and meet, I'm gonna trust in the ship. So, the next thing we need, I think is going to end up being the name of the ship. Or here we go. We have some details. So let's see what the other details are. We'll roll twice, and I will let the cursed die if it wants to roll. I'll let it roll. It does not for that one, for the first one anyways. So 85 without a commander. Well, that's true. That's why we're taking it. Because it does not currently have a commander, and we need to have it for ourselves. So maybe it's also only listing to one side for now, because that will change as we fix it up, and it doesn't have a commander now, but that will change as we take the command. Okay, one more thing about it. Also not cursed, but 93. There's ship damage. Okay, well this is actually good because this will show us kind of what we want, what we have to fix, what we need to worry about as we make the ship. So what's wrong with the ship? And I'm not gonna worry about the morale. Okay. Let's see. I think I'm gonna say that this is let's look at what this does mechanically. Damage on your ship other than your own. Assume the damage is bothersome on an odd roll, bad on an even roll, critical if you roll a number divisible by 10. Okay, perfect. That informs it. We rolled a 49, so that's odd. So it's only bothersome, so that's good. It got a fouled sail. So the sails are shot to shit. The sails are not working. Fouled sails. Okay. Oh boy. So we've got a lot to work on with this little vulture ship with its mechanical crew. I don't know how I feel about the mechanized crew. Again, I'm going to trust in the oracles for 99% of this, but I don't know. It's our ship. It needs to kind of be something we love. So I think I'm going to not have it be cursed. I think this is just a really shitty ship at a really shitty dock in a really shitty port town. So it just kind of sucks. So I'm just going to roll another first look, which is going to be a 73. Ramshackle construction or repairs. Okay, well yeah. So someone tried to fix it. So this is how we find it, which makes sense if it's the repairs. If this is how we find it at the dock, this abandoned ship, we are going to painstakingly refit it to its new role. That's probably going to be our first Iron Vow. And what kind of crew do we want? I don't think we're going to have any cargo to begin with because that's just not going to happen. And then the last thing we need is a name for the ship. So we need to go to 140. And we'll see if we want this to be a cursed one. We'll see what the ship is called, and I will probably end up liking whatever this is, I hope. Okay, it's not cursed. It's a 26. The Eye of the Storm. So this vulture ship, the Eye of the Storm. I like it. This just ramshackle, abandoned ship out here on the docks. I love it. It is this incidental little sailing ship that nobody wants. So we can probably get it for free, honestly. We just have to fix it up, and that's our ship to go after Esmeralda. So the last thing we need now is the crew characteristics. So, I don't especially want a cursed crew for our starting. Just because, that's kind of a lot. But, yeah, let's do the crew characteristics and see sort of who we end up getting to help fight for us and sail for us as we kind of meet these folks as we're, working on the ship. That is a hard 40. Novice mariners undertaking their first adventure. Great. Okie dokie. So we are basically pulling in. It's feeling kind of One Piece in a way that I like. That we're pulling in people who have never really been to sea before. We're just getting this completely green crew. Of people who want to go for an adventure. Now, this is crazy because what we're doing, is we're hunting down this pirate queen. So do we lead with that, or do we kind of keep that a secret? Because I don't know how many people would join up if I'm saying I'm going to hunt down Bladehand. I think that's you have to be real crazy. Now they did say we could roll twice. If you roll 91 to 100, you have two groups on your crew and they are at odds. And I kind of want to do that and have that sort of be the opening, that we get these people who are these, like, maybe someone brings in a group of novice mariners who not really sailed before. They come cheap and easy because they don't have any experience. But I feel like we need someone else on the crew. So let's just roll and see what we get, and we can decide if we want to bring them along or just stick with our newbies. 88. Unprincipled mercenaries earning blood money. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we're going into pirate territory. We're gonna hunt down Esmeralda Durand, and I could see mercenaries wanting blood money. We don't have anything to give them, but there could be some mercs who know that there's money in that. I'm sure she's got a crazy high bounty, and they don't really care what they have to do to get money in the meanwhile. So that'll give us some ideas for some NPCs to meet. Folks who bring in their own crews, I think. At least two NPCs. We'll have one from the Novice Mariners, one from the Mercenaries. They kind of have their own crews that they're bringing along. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So this is our terrible ship, the Eye of the Storm, that we find at a dock, listing to one side, poorly repaired, no commander, the sails are torn up. It's got this vulture motif, and it has just been left to rot at the docks, and we have to repair it so that we can sail it out of the myriad into the margins and begin to hunt down Esmeralda Bladehand Durand, the pirate queen. And with that, I believe that we have finished our session 0. Whew, that only took a really long time. But we will be joining Nettie Nishimura on her adventures through the Sundered Isles. I will, again, I'll be putting a video that has everything nice and neat and organized. It'll go through the world truths, through our character, and through our NPCs that we've created for her backstory. And then we'll kind of have our first episode where we'll be introduced into the fiction as Nettie settles into a port town and finds the Eye of the Storm waiting for her at a dock, needing her shipwright's hand. And yeah, whew, this is a long one. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far. Please give the channel a like, a subscribe, all of that fun stuff to join us on Nettie's adventures through the Sundered Isles as she goes forth to avenge the death of her brother Edward. And we will see you all in the first episode of Here There Be Monsters. Until then, my beloved adventurers, farewell. Bye-bye.